I mean, I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but a smart person looking at this, what they would do is they would move all that into the US, and I would use the northern border versus the southern border, and then find a place to put it together when you're inside of the US. So I wouldn't move it across the border completely put together. I would find, one of the things the cartels are notorious as doing is they establish relationships on Indian reservations. And
Right.
whether that's through passing drug trafficking, whatever it may be. But then we have an additional issue of sovereign nation, federal government oversight. A lot of these things border Canada and the United States as well. But I think it's 100% possible that you could bring these things across, and probably the person with the knowledge and ability to do it extremely easily, put it together in the United States. It wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and I guess that's my point here is that when we talk about, a World War III scenario, I always hear the strategists painting the picture of that, of Taiwan
Yeah.
and the global thinkers, which is great. But, if we've already seen precedent for this in Russia by Ukraine, and if there is even the remote possibility that the nexus I described could already be in place or could happen as a part of this, then it seems to me to be like a logical assumption, at least a planning assumption, that the type of strike that we saw in Ukraine, for example, in Russia, that lended itself to strategic surprise. It really took a major toll on the strategic bombing capability. So what would that do to the United States' ability to respond to Taiwan? What would that do to our ability to respond to Russian aggression? I mean, it would cripple it. And so this is the part I don't hear anybody talking about. And then I think, okay, well, maybe it's because like we don't want to give them ideas, but then I think, well, shit, if we're talking about this, I mean, come on,
They have to be. They have
they've
to
got
be.
it. They've got it. And the reality is who's going to be dealing with this? You're talking about communities. You're talking about local law enforcement. You're talking about county municipalities, state level stuff. There's going to be a federal paralysis if this happens. I mean, if they combine that with, say, 4 elementary schools and 2 nursing homes, right? You rig explosives in the middle. You've got like a Mumbai style attack with 10 well-trained attackers who've gone through selection. They cut their teeth in Afghanistan and Syria. They're fully prepared to die at a time and place of their choosing. Most law enforcement today are trained against one single shooter.
Yeah.
So you put all that in play, and I mean, you've pretty much locked the nation down. And I mean, Western North Carolina locked a lot of it down with just Hurricane Helene. So those are the things that I'm just kind of scratching my head asking, wow, when are we going to really step back and, when, Homeland Security really lead kind of a multi-echelon private public discussion tabletop on this, because it's here and traditional mechanisms and processes to deal with it are not going to get it done. It's just not, we're already way behind.
Yeah. And this is the kind of stuff that will keep you up at night staring at a ceiling fan, especially with our background where you understand. I mean, we did the by, with, and through piece. We saw the evolution of warfare in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, I remember clearly in Iraq in my first deployment, I watched somebody shoot an AK at a Predator. And that person wasn't around for very long. Like that's just your local idiot or a very inexperienced person. Then it got real complicated. Then they got real savvy with electronics. Then they got savvy with how they were communicating. Then we watched the influence of, explosive penetrating devices travel through these nations. And we started seeing tactics shifting back and forth. These organizations became disaggregate, but they had the same goal. They were planning on their own. They got very, very sophisticated. I think, underestimating your enemy is the classic way to end up having them just serve you your lunch.
And I think we're underestimating the potential of this nexus, because like we kind of, you hear the intel community constantly sloughing it off as there's no nexus, but I don't know, man. I mean, I think there already is to some degree. I think you've seen Iran cooperating much more closely with Sunni groups than they've ever done at any point in their history. And think about this. Take the international cartels to the south. I mean, what's been their main reason for not unleashing scunion on the United States? I mean, it's where they do a lot of their business, right? Yeah. And it's in their best interest as businessmen from just a practicality piece to not, create actions that would bring retribution on them. But if you make them, a target the same way for JSOC, the same way that ISIS is a target, and dudes start blowing up and dying surgically, in Juarez and other places, what is their reason to not unleash scunion on Fort Bragg and
Yeah.
damn it and other places, on families and things like that. I don't know. That's just where I go. And it's to the point, honestly, man, I had to get away from it. Last time you and I talked, I think we talked about like the Gathering Storm, and I wrote a book on it with Sarah Adams and a few others. That was my opus. I was like, I'm out. And I went back and started working on my play again. I'm working on like theater and stuff because I just, it is really, really tough to think about. And I'm just not sure we're taking it that seriously, honestly.
Well, it's a fine line because nobody wants to be considered a tinfoil hat person. And there are certainly people out there who'd have not only the hat, but the scarf and the suit and the socks that are just fashioned out of tinfoil. But I also don't want to be somebody who buries their head in the sand. And I don't want to be an alarmist. And I also can't turn off, and I'm sure nor can you. I mean, the things you see with your own eyes and you experience in life, and you encounter people that are willing, like you said, to die at a point in time of their choosing. That's a different person to bump up against than like most people will never encounter violence in their life. And that's a beautiful thing. They can walk away from most violent encounters. That's spectacular. If you meet somebody who is radicalized on an ideology and they are prepared to die, like you said, for a cause at a time of their choosing, or whenever they get put into a corner, that's a different level. And once you've seen that, you can't tell yourself that it doesn't exist because you know that it does exist.
That's exactly right.
And I don't want to be an alarmist because crying wolf too much does in fact make people numb to what it is you're crying wolf about. But I don't want to bury my head in the sand. I don't know the answer to it. I can't turn my brain up, but I'm the same way. I don't want to sit there and create a sense of anxiety in myself or those around me that gets to this fevered pitch that they end up having to turn it down so much that they might not see something they should pay attention to. I don't know the answer to it because the threat is there.
Yeah, it's a great way to frame it. And it was happening to me. I found myself, and I think it was because it was on the heels of the collapse and trying to help some buddies get out. And then hearing from some of those individuals that I trust implicitly who are still in Afghanistan, who still have really good access and placement, and the things they were saying, I was like, wow, even if one fraction of this is true,
yeah,
this is not what I'm hearing from the IC. It's not what I'm hearing. And so what I've kind of decided is, at least for me, I wrote the book, put it out there, and it at least feels to me like at least I've put my perspective out there. If people want to take it to the next level and have conversations at a community level, if they want to think about things individually, great. I feel like I don't have much more to offer to it, honestly, other than giving my opinion, because I'm not in the game anymore. I don't even have a clearance anymore. I don't want a clearance. I want to do storytelling and human connection and, watch my kids grow. I left that world, but I'm not sure that world left me. And that's kind of a challenge sometimes, but I found that for me, there's other ways to move through that. Again, storytelling, restoration, healing, working with others. That's kind of my jam. But if you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you, and it's not what a lot of what I'm seeing that we're actually thinking about as a nation.
Yeah, you can get lost in that. And then it actually getting lost in that maze, you can't actually see what's going on. It's a tough balance. It's an empowering thing to be away from the military and to be able to realize that you've passed on that burden to other people. And I mean, let's just be honest, they're doing a way better job than either you or I were ever capable of. The military and SOF is doing stuff I couldn't even have fathomed. And that's a great thing. But like you said, I left that world, but I don't know if it can ever leave me completely, but it's a tough one for me to manage. And I am cautious with what I say because I don't want to scare people. And I don't want people to be like, oh, that's Andy, the tinfoil hat guy. Because when I do raise something up, I want people to realize that I'm doing it because I truly believe that, not because I'm falling for the next, breadcrumb that's leading me towards the Illuminati.
I agree. And I think the other thing I left our conversation before thinking is you've done a really good job of stepping away from that world and really letting it float down the river, as best you can and acknowledging the capability of the men and women that have it now. And I feel the same way. I think, with our play, as we travel around the country doing the play and it's all veterans in the cast, I get the opportunity to spend a lot of time with GWAT, Global War on Terror veterans, but also with, active duty special ops guys that come to the play and girls. And they're so impressive, man. I'm just so in awe of them and so grateful for them, and
I hate them because they're so much better than me.
They're so good. They're so good. And they're so
I know.
smart.
I hate them for their capability and their intelligence. And I just wish it was me. And so I just push it down deep. Just don't deal with those emotions. Just stuff them.
Because that's optimal health.
Yeah, it is. It's never going to come back to bite you.